jangan lain kamera berani. மைக் போடுவேன். ஸ்பீக்கர் இருக்குல்ல,
அதில் மைக் எதில் மாட்டேன்.
மைக் தான் இங்கே இருக்கு, அது ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
அது ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
இது இருக்கு,
மாட்டிடுவாங்க.
ஒயர்லெஸ்
போட்டு அங்கே வச்சுட்டு இதில் மாட்டிடுவாங்களா? இப்போ எதுவும் டிஸ்டர்ப் ஆகாது.
Yeah, we just went downstairs.
லைட் 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 லைட்
யார் நீங்கள் தான் வீடியோகிராஃபரா?
ஆமாம் சார்.
வைஃபைலாம் சரியாக உங்களுக்கு?
கரெக்டாக.
ஸோ நீங்கள் லைவ் ஸ்ட்ரீமிங் ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டிங்களா?
ஆரம்பிச்சிச்சு சார். ஆனால் நான் புரிஞ்சு அப்படி என்ன எனக்கு பக்கமாண்ணா, எனக்கு பக்கமா. நான் ஒரு நிமிஷம். இல்லை, அது போட வேணான்றாங்க. ஓகே, இந்த பக்கம்
பவர் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணிக்கிறேன்.
ஜெகன் அவனே எடுத்துகிட்டு இருக்கான். ஒரு லைட் மட்டும் போட்டுக்கலாமா ஜெகன்? ஒரு லைட் மட்டும் போட்டுக்கலாமா? கொஞ்சம் போடுங்க. அந்த லைட்டை போடுங்க, ரெண்டுத்தையும் போடுங்க.
July 5th.
If this
I'm just checking what was. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. If I can just ask people to sit down, if that's okay. Okay, thank you. So good afternoon. Is it echoing? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. My dad would have been deeply moved to see so many of you gathered in his honor. He wasn't a man who sought the spotlight, but he certainly deserved it, and more. We have a few words to share today, so let me begin. Before I talk more about my father, I'd like to talk about two other people. My dad thought he was a general or a commander at a war which was his health. But he had two incredible lieutenants by his side, three actually. Two of them are his brothers, who have been with him through every part of this journey. Whether it was flying back from America, sleeping in his room every night, my uncles have been fantastic. But there is someone else who I don't know how my father would have gone through without her by his side. My mother has done something so incredible for the past few years as his nurse, his confidant, his best friend. I'd really like to applaud everything that she's done. It's incredibly hard to sum up what my father meant to me in just a few lines. They say fathers often have their daughters in their pocket. Daughters have their father wrapped around their little fingers, ready to give them the world. My brother will tell you I was the favorite child. And maybe I was, but not in the way you would think. My dad never raised me like a princess. He never bought into that idea. Instead, he raised me with expectations, ambition, and purpose. He was in the truest sense a feminist, a girl dad, before people really understood what that was. Not only by name, but by action. He held his daughter to the same standards that he set for his son. One of the proudest days of his life wasn't when I got married, although I'm sure he was happy I was someone else's problem. But it was actually when I got my last big promotion at work. That's what he pushed me towards: accomplishment, independence, and growth. He was my toughest critic and my loudest cheerleader all at once. Even towards the end, he never stopped encouraging me or challenging me. The last conversation we had is, where's the Harvard MBA? Stop wasting time. So that's who he was. He believed in lifelong learning and never settling. He was not a very affectionate man or a sentimental man. He was a strong man, a real tough guy. But when you lose someone, it's not the big moments that stay with you. It's the little ones and the little things he did that I cherish. It was the movies every Friday that he would take me to, no matter how busy or tired he was, always followed by lunch, where he taught me how to hold a fork and a knife at a fancy restaurant. It's the way he fiercely defended my mom. He was the only one who could argue with her and no one else. It's the way he softened with his grandkids, becoming a gentle, playful figure that my brother and I hardly recognized, and we cherished him for. There are so many stories I could share about my dad, but the truth is, I'm not ready to share most of those memories. I'm keeping them close to my chest. So instead, I'll end with a poem. In his later years, my father became obsessed with finding tigers in the wild. He'd go to many Indian forests and jungles trying to capture the elusive creature. He loved this poem and read it to me many times, always with that deep, commanding voice of it, and I can still hear it in my head. Tiger, tiger burning bright, in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? I hope wherever you are, Dad, you finally found some tigers. But I wish more than anything, we could have chased some of them together for another few years. Thank you. So I would like to call up Ashok Mama to the stage to say a few words.
Hi, everybody. I'm sure, as Prasi said, Pratap would have loved this kind of a gathering.
And Pratap entered our family, 47 years ago. Okay, I still remember the first day he showed up at our house. I think his older brother Prasad said, "Abhivadeye Panada Abdina." So he did. That was the very first Abhivadeye that I ever saw. And he just kind of, almost immediately, it was like he wasn't really an in-law. He just became part of the family. And he wasn't just that way with me and my parents. He was that way with the entire family, right? So as you all know, Pratap was never one who didn't have an opinion on something, anything. And he had no problem sharing his opinion with everybody, arguing with everybody, whether it was religion, politics, cricket, Federer. He had an opinion on everything and he talked to everybody about it. So because he talked so openly and about, everybody felt that they knew him, and he had this really unique ability to connect with people, make them feel special, and actually make them just feel that he was in the same wavelength with them. So I still remember at family reunions, usually in-laws can be this remote, respected figure. Pratap was no such thing. I mean, not that people didn't like him and respect him, but he just got into everything. Okay, so like in a family reunion, he started belting out, for example, I still remember, I think Gopal Mama was also there, and I think he started belting out like MGR songs, okay, the old songs which had a rousing beat, and he managed to get the entire crowd. Even now, people talk about how he sang at that reunion in my family, okay? And so he just had no inhibitions at all. So it was almost like he was this extended part of our family. Nobody saw him as an in-law. Perhaps that's why his loss is harder to take. And also one other thing I'd just like to call out was, I saw Pratap before he had his transplant. This was in Dubai maybe 5 years ago. He was in such bad shape, I thought when I left, I thought I wouldn't see him again. But then he and my sister took a very courageous decision to go through this lung transplant, and it was a difficult operation. He came out, and the thing that I always found very inspiring was, he talked about it as a new lease on life, and he just completely embraced it, right? After that lung transplant, there was he wasn't cautious about anything. He came to the US, I think he went to New Zealand after that. He just traveled all over. He was living life to the full. And I know that one of the pictures over there, he came to Sedona for a reunion, and I was just shocked to see Pratap suddenly pulling me aside and asking me to go for a hike with him. There was a picture there of the summit, so we hiked up there, and so there was a sign there that said, this is a space of some spiritual significance for old Indian tribes. And he felt moved enough to immediately sit there and meditate for 5 minutes. And then Pratap, being Pratap, also had a lot to say about how the kids were making a racket and how they weren't respecting the spirit of the place. I mean, that was Pratap, right? You know, he could meditate in 1 minute and then rant about some kids in another minute. And, you know, that was just him, quintessentially him. So I think more than anything else, I'll just miss having him around, and I'll miss his zest and enthusiasm for everything in life. I mean, just about everything interested him. He was obviously really into his family, loved the grandkids, but he would just seem to find delight in the simplest of things, and that is probably what I'll remember him the most and miss the most about him not being here. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Ashok Mama. Can I ask Ashok Subramaniam? Oh, he's not here. Okay. Is Ravi Uncle here? Okay, Ravi Uncle?
Hi, everybody. I'll keep it brief. Can you hear me? Yeah. I came to know Pratap sometime in 1976 in a common friend's place, Ashok Karra, if some of you know him. And the first thing that struck me was he was very focused. He was in those days working as a medical rep. And he was very clear, while we were a couple of guys who were doing CA and not clearly sure about what we are going to do in life, Pratap had all of it sort of well laid out. And he knew where he was going to go, what he's going to do next. And he seemed to follow that very systematically. The second trait and then subsequently I met him in Muscat. When we moved to Muscat, he was also in Muscat. And then when I moved back to Dubai, he followed us and we continued our relationship. Kalpana and Pratap have been very good friends over the years. We have traveled a few places with them, and then we spent a lot of dinners and evenings out and New Year's. Okay. The abiding thing that I heard, that I felt about Pratap was he was fearless, as it was mentioned about his ability to have an opinion on everything and anything. And he would fight for his views strongly, but it was without any rancor or without any, at the end of it, you left. We probably didn't agree on a lot of things, but then we were good. We continued to be good friends and shared our friendship and times together without any sort of feelings left behind after an argument or a discussion. But one of the things that I noticed in the last few years when he was going through the very difficult times, both he and Kalpana, he never said why it happened to him. I remember the story about Arthur Ashe being asked as to why he never complained about the fact that he got cancer, or he got when he had an IV fluid, I think a blood transfusion or something like that, he got AIDS. And then he said, when I got my first Wimbledon, I never asked why. When I won all the tournaments, I never asked why. And why should I ask why? It's just something that happened. And in Pratap, I saw that same tenacity, that same fearlessness. I've never seen him even once complain about the problems that he was going through. He lived life to the full hilt, always wanting to do something or the other, and always working also. His mind was constantly engaged on something or the other. And so he lived a full life, and I think I'm fortunate to have met him and be his friend. And both he and Kalpana have been very good friends for us, and we'll continue to nourish that relationship with him. So peace to him, and I hope he rests in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi Uncle. Can I ask Sutrita Auntie to come on stage?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sucharita Maitra. I'm the wife of Uday Maitra. Our relationship with Pratap and Kalpana spans more than 4 decades. Kalpana and I were in Stella Maris in Chennai years ago. Pratap, Kalpana, and my husband Uday are from IIM Calcutta. When Uday and I moved to Muscat in 1989, one day Uday came home very excited, saying he heard K-Nuts from IMC was working in Muscat, and she has invited us to meet her and her husband. And she's from Chennai. So little did I know where this was going. And we went and had dinner, and I was surprised to see that K-Nuts was no other than Kalpana Natesan, my debate team partner from Chennai, from Stella Maris College, who had married Pratap. So there began our connection again. In IIM schools, I'm told, it is customary, and many of you are probably from IIM, that it's usual to give special names for everybody. So K-Nuts, and then my husband Uday was called Moits, and so there were very special names that they created for themselves. So Kalpana and Pratap helped us settle in the new country. Both of us had 2 kids each, Romita and our infant son at that time, Tuhin, Pradyut, and of course, beautiful Prasida, who was an infant at that time. Little did we know that 20 years later, Pradyut would propose to Romi. Both Romita and Pradyut were working in Toronto in their 20s. I recall Kalpana and Pratap visiting us regularly in Toronto. One of these times, there was a conversation. And this happened when Pratap was instrumental in setting up the Second Cup coffee brand in the UAE. And while talking about coffee and over a cup of coffee, he suddenly turned to Pradyut. And with a twinkle in his eye, he said, "Why don't you take Romi out for a coffee?" And the coffee beans did the trick. So both Uday and I were thrilled, and we became from friends to family. And so there began the connection again and again. When we heard about Pratap's passing, we were devastated. Here is what Uday penned with a very heavy heart to the IMC group. I'm reading his letter. Pratap passed away today at 3:45 a.m. in Chennai. Thank you to those who expressed their sadness on the passing away of TN Pratap, 13th batch IIM Calcutta, husband of Kalpana, 14th batch IIM Calcutta. I write this with a profound feeling of grief. Pratap was a friend, co-founder with me in a startup in India. His son Pradyut is married to my daughter Romita. He was a sambandhi. He was an elder brother I never had. But above all, beneath his exterior toughness, he was a kind, charming, and lovable human being. To do the right thing. Pratap would be surrounded by our Islam and cheer louder than his grandsons when Sinner would hit an unbelievable shot. He would talk about Federer. He would moan when India failed in some cricket test and jump with delight when they did very well. He never lost his curiosity about anything new, a childlike, pure wonder or sometimes frustration. 4 years ago, when his lungs were playing up due to COPD, the doctors gave him a choice, and as you might have heard from earlier speakers, to lead a very sedentary life or a double lung transplant, a very risky procedure. As we all know, he chose the latter, saying he will not be leading any other kind of life. He went through a lot during the surgery with Kalpana beside him, but he recovered and even got to the golf course a few times. He came to our son Tuhin's wedding in Toronto 2 years ago. He took our grandson Ishan to Italy for tennis coaching last year. On the way, he and Kalpana also did the Northern Lights. So even from the ICU in Chennai, hospital a week or so ago, he sent me questions on bridge. My husband loves playing bridge, and he and Pratap would have conversations about that. And he sent Uday a message writing that when he gets better, he wants to play the game more seriously. That was Pratap, and I wanted to share a glimpse of his personality. He lived his life on his own terms to the last day. He held his head high and honest, and he gave a lot of joy to his friends and family. Pratap was only 71. So in closing, I would like to say that we are indeed very grateful that destiny brought Pratap and Kalpana into our lives. And we're very fortunate that our families have spent so many joyful years together. We will miss you, Pratap, but the precious memories will always be treasured. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. So I'd actually like to invite someone on stage who my father saw his son in again, someone who's given him immense joy over the past few years. I'd like to invite his grandson, Yash Pratap, on stage.
Hi, my name is Yash Pratap, and I'm speaking on behalf of my older brother, Ishan Pratap, who is Unfortunately, he could not be here today as he's playing tennis tournaments in Canada. Tennis is and was our shared passion with our grandfather. This is what he wrote. My grandfather died last Saturday on the 21st of June, 2025. He was a wonderful man, and I could never express the depths of gratitude towards him. Although, like we all do, he had his flaws and they were far outweighed by his virtues. He was always wonderful towards me, and as his oldest grandchild, and as a result, I happened to spend more time with him than any of my siblings did. And one of my deepest regrets is that my little sister and little cousins didn't get to spend much time with him, the youngest only being 2 when he died. Words can never truly express the way of memories we formed, and I cannot truly describe him in a couple of paragraphs, yet I will try. He was a great man who always led by example, teaching me how to stay calm, how to stay disciplined, and how to manage stress, among various other things. He was knowledgeable, whether it was about a TV show, sports, or academics. He always knew something about the topic. He was intelligent, quick to notice both what I did well and not so well, yet he always managed to convey his displeasure in a constructive manner. But above all, he was kind, always willing to help me, whether it be with my homework or my tennis. Although I do feel desolate about his death, knowing I'm never going to be able to spend time with him again, discussing various activities, I'm now grateful that for the nearly 15 years he spent with me, building memories. And for me, the most important thing to do, as he would say, is to pick yourself up and carry on with life. After his death, I was distraught and anguished, yet was faced a critical decision. Should I go to India, to the function which presumably we are all here and now? However, after a couple of days of pondering, I stumbled on a crucial question. What would he want me to do? Then I realized the best way to honor my grandfather was to carry on with life, holding his memory close to my heart, as although he's gone, the memories we've forged together will never fade. As a closing statement, I just want to thank my grandfather for everything he's done for me, whether it be staying till 10 p.m. to watch my tennis matches or giving me his prize suitcase. He was always wonderful with me, and I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to spend nearly 15 years of my life with him. Ishan. On my part, I also reflect my brother. I was the second grandchild, so I got to enjoy all the wonderful things he was. He was enthusiastic. Whenever India would score a 4 or 6, and of course he would moan when they got a wicket out. One of my deepest regrets is that, which I echo my brother on, is that my My younger sister Leah could not enjoy him as much, and also my little cousins Arif and Amin also could not. Thank you.
Thank you, Yash. I would now like to invite someone who became not only my dad's doctor, but his fighting companion and very close friend. Dr. Roy, would you please come on stage?
Good afternoon, all. Today we gather here not just to mourn, but I believe it's a celebration of life that touched so many of us, both profound and in a personal way. His Just for Life, I will always see that immediately after transplant, he was going around playing tennis. He was going to the Canadian Rockies and then to the crowded cricket matches, in spite of perhaps we didn't want that. But that's what Pratap was. Always full of life, always do whatever he thinks better. But still he had some kind of a little kind of an ear to my suggestions, at least occasionally. To Mr. Pratap's family, and especially to you, ma'am, and the children, please know that my heart also aches alongside you. He was just not my patient, he was really a good friend. Someone I admired for his Just of Life, someone I learned from, and someone whose presence made my life richer. In a world that sometimes struggles to understand him, I was fortunate enough to see the man beneath, his strength, his wit, his quiet kindness. Our bond went beyond the ordinary. It was built on trust, shared moments, and mutual respect that I will carry with me always. He used to send me messages also in the middle of the night from ICU, how he is doing. But he never complained that I'm not finding time good. It was like someone passively talking about his health without not getting involved into it. That was really something touching me, because I have always seen the patients are somewhat fearful what is coming, but I couldn't find him in it, the fear. That's why I really like him, that streak in his mind and his personality. I wish more than anything that I could have done more to keep him here with us. Medicine has its limits, but love and memory do not. Though he is no longer with us in body, the imprint he left on us will remain. The way he faced challenges with humor, the way he made us feel valued, those things don't fade. To you, madam, and all who loved him, may you find comfort in the love he gave, the stories he will retell, and the knowledge that he was cherished far beyond what words can convey. And to Mr. Pratap, my dear friend, may you rest in eternal peace, free from pain, knowing you were remembered, you were missed, and you were deeply loved. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to now call his other daughter to the stage, Romita.
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm also known as Romy. I think it's really funny when people's phones ring because it actually reminds me of my father-in-law. He never kept his phone off. So if your phones ring, it reminds me of him. I haven't got a speech. I'll just read something that I wrote about him. the day after he died. So my father-in-law, Tian Pratap, or Tango Pratap, as he sometimes called himself, left us for his next big adventure yesterday, Saturday, June 21st, 2025. Many people have written about his ready wit, his kindness, his drive, his easy athleticism, and his impeccable sense of style. And he had all of these qualities. But to me, he was all that and more. In fact, I didn't know that moving into the Pratap house or Pratap home nearly 18 years ago meant that I'd acquire an in-house fashion critic, a passionate career advisor, a movie connoisseur, and a sports commentator, especially cricket, all rolled into one. More so, he made it all fun. It wasn't serious. We had the best conversations about all these topics and even other random ones. If he didn't like what I was wearing, he would tell me. And maybe I would change, maybe I wouldn't. It would be fine. Sometimes he would scold me, and at other times he would praise me. And I was charmed by it all because I knew it came from his heart. He treated me as a daughter and not a daughter-in-law. There was no pretense. He was real. And if I ever needed something, I knew he would be there to support me. There were moments when he would be obstinate, and he had plenty of opinions, but he wasn't averse to being contradicted. In fact, he thoroughly enjoyed a good debate. So if you disagreed with him, it was more fun. The best ones to watch were the ones between my mother-in-law Kalpana and him. With a cup of coffee in his hand, he would talk to her about politics or bureaucracy or the banking systems and how they all need to improve, and she'd respond. And win or lose, he'd usually end by holding her hand up to his lips and giving it a kiss. He loved her deeply, and he showed it. He was incredibly proud of Pradyut and Prasi as well. In the early years, I thought that they were the apples of his eye. I learned how wrong I was when his grandchildren arrived. Ishan, Yash, Alea, Arav, and Aman lit up his world. They were the brightest stars in the sky for him. Not once did he lose his temper with them. Instead, there was softness. A gentle warmth infused his interactions with them. He nurtured their love for sports, arts, academia. He was their biggest fan. Even during COVID, he spent a lot of time teaching Ishan and Yash. He also taught them courage, discipline, and to expect the best of oneself. And he did this not with words, by simply living it in front of them. There are countless memories of trips, birthdays, weddings, joyous occasions. But what I'll miss the most is entering the house and hearing refrains of old Hindi or Tamil songs being sung with gusto, or the way he would whistle and tie his shoelaces. And even his voice, as he'd say, "Romy!" The tears keep falling, but I know how blessed I am to have these tears, these beautiful memories, because for me, he was home. How lucky I am to have had his love, his light in my life. I learned to love him as a dad, and that was because of him. He taught me how. So yeah, that's what I wrote. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for your patience with all the speeches, and thank you everyone for coming here today.
I'm Navneet. I'm his schoolmate right from LKG. Actually, your family must be really blessed to have somebody like him in your midst. I mean, you people had... Sorry? Can't hear me? Okay. Your family is actually blessed. Because we know Pratap from childhood, one of the most kindest guys you can meet. And the guy with a natural smile, not those plastic ones we see across the globe right now. And he had a heart to prove it also. And he was very affectionate. And like many people said, he can argue till the cows come home. And obstinate, but he will forget it the next day. You wouldn't bother about it. But he had an argument with you. He'll come back to his normal stuff. That's Pratap for you. As school friends, I mean, his memory was fabulous. I used to wonder, did I go to the same school he went to or what? He'll say, this happened, that happened. I said, where did it happen? Yeah, we don't even remember this stuff. And he'll quote so many things. This teacher said this, that man did this. And he'll scratch my head saying, maybe this guy went to a different school, not the same school. That was his guy. And he had a well-read guy, knowledgeable, sharp humor, very, very affectionate, and very kind with kids. That you can, it's very obvious with him. Any kid comes across him, he'll touch the child. He didn't differentiate between my son or his son or anybody's son. For him, child is a child. And like somebody mentioned here, oh, he's a good bridge player, but he was a tough one to play with. His bridge name was Tango Navy. That was his identity in bridge. And myself and Benji all used to play. And one sudden he'll say, you guys play lousy bridge, I'm quitting. And he'll quit the game and go, and he'll quit the group also. Then Benji has to come and say, boss, please, we are school friends. Show some mercy to us. No, come back to us. No, we'll convince him to come back. But the guy played bridge well. Let's accept it. He was a good bridge player. And then next day, we asked him, why did you fight for all these things? You guys don't know how to play also. What's the point playing with you fellows? I said, take care, you're a good player. But I think ultimately, the human in him was very, very strong. He's an excellent human being. And I feel very proud. I'm happy that I walked that path along with him from school. Thank you.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we are running late, so I only have time for 2 more speeches. So someone super important to my father, Bambu, would you come on stage? Sorry, this is my father's eldest brother, also known as Prasad.
Quite a few have said a lot of things about Pratap. My journey with Pratap lasted for a little over 71 years. It was in Kalyani Hospital within 30 minutes of his birth, coming into this world. He didn't have a name then. He was a baby, cuddled up in a small cradle with an umbrella mosquito net on top. We were peering into that, Prakash and I. Prakash and I just 1 year apart. We looked at the kid, new arrival, and Pratap was there. Later on, he was called Pratap. At that time, it was a new arrival. So we both were fussing around him, playing around him, and he was the new attraction in the family. We'll come back from school, look at him, play with him. Within a few months, I used to play with my little finger, put my finger in his palm, and he would grip it. And it was a firm grip. Sometimes he would be gripping, crying, but he'll be gripping all the same. Sometimes he'll be gripped and smiling, but the grip would never be left. And I think that grip somehow lasted for a whole lifetime. Because after he grew a few years, he and my uncle's daughter, that is my father's younger brother's daughter, they both went down to a school called Sishu Vihar. They were both about 3 years old then. Hand in hand, they would go to that school. In that school, after the initial playing time, they would all be given lunch. And they'll all be allowed to sleep for some time. They'll be woken up, freshed up, powdered, and sent back. They would come fresher than they went. So that was the school he went to in the initial stages. From there, after going through the preschool days, he went and joined along with Vidya Mandir. The thing about Vidya Mandir is it started as a ladies' club, in the sense that it was more like a family than a school, and later on became a very formal school. First appearance of Pratap on stage was his role in a play called Julius Caesar. And Pratap had a role as a messenger who comes and warns Caesar not to go to the Senate that day. So we were all waiting. The speech of Caesar was over, and Pratap comes on stage wearing a green Roman robe with one shoulder bare and the other shoulder covered, spear in one hand. He would come in, stamp the spear on the stage and say, his words were, "My lord, the priests advised, "Thou shalt not stir forth today." One more stamp and he would disappear. Julius Caesar and company were right behind him. So he was addressing the audience without any fear. And that was his first appearance on the stage. And the entire audience were thrilled with his performance, and they all liked it. After that, I went and hugged him and brought him home along with Prakash, his hand in hand. It didn't stop there. His next stage of performance was in Don Bosco, by the time he had come to the third standard in Don Bosco. And there it was a Tamil play. It was not actually a play, it was a dance. It was a Tamil dance where it was a harvest dance. So Pratap was supposed to be playing a supervisory role. Let me say this in Tamil. Those days, if they ask, "Sir, enna pandraru?" They'll say, "Our vivasayam paakararu." Baakiyellam vivasayam pannuvaanga, ivaru paathanu irupparu. So that is the role that he had. His role was to stand from one end of the stage, he would walk across to the other end, look at everybody and make sure that they are doing their work properly. That's all his role was, and that was the second time he came on stage. And that was in Don Bosco. And in Don Bosco, he picked up some very good friends. I think one or two of them are here. And not only that, his achievement in Don Bosco was, other than academics, he was a rover scout. He went to a jamboree in Calcutta, where I think he reached the highest rank student, a scout, a Cub Scout and a scout can achieve. Not Prakash, not I. We were not able to reach that, but Pratap did it. And that was a hallmark of his life in Don Bosco. Don Bosco was over, and then he joined Loyola, PUC. And after finished his PUC, they were wondering what to do next. And Pratap was not keen on engineering. He didn't say no to medicine, but didn't say yes either. But he had a flair for pharmacy. He wanted to do pharmaceuticals. So at that time, I had already gone to Birla Institute of Technology and Science, BITS Pilani, where I had gone there for my MBA. And when I came back for the summer holidays, this was being discussed. So I said, why don't Pratap do pharmacy honors instead of plain pharmacy? Because he had applied for pharmacy in Madras University, I think. So that clicked. And they said, then why not? When he's going to do 4 years of pharmacy, he might as well get a pharmacy honors degree. And that's how he landed in Pilani. Again, he let me hold his hand and take him across to Pilani, where he spent some 4 years, wonderful years. In Pilani, he had the company of very good friends. I think Chandru is here somewhere, and a couple of others. In the initial stages, the ragging in Pilani campus, all of us were residents there. So the campus ragging was very severe. So he would come sneaking away in the night and come into my room and stay, because we had to separate, the postgraduates had a separate wing altogether. And not only that, now and then I used to go and see him, make sure that things are all right. And so his friends and those who wanted to rag him know that there is a big brother sitting somewhere in the corner. So let's not take too much of advantage of him. But he was very sporty, and he had a very good innings in Pilani. After Pilani, he came and joined a pharmaceutical company called Ethanol. He was there for a short while. And then he had applied for, and so far, as I told you, he let me hold his hand. He went to Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, and he found a new pair of hands there. And the new pair of hands stood with him till his last days, Kalpana. And Kalpana he got married to the following year after his. After marriage, Kalpana was staying in Chennai, and she was with Leland, and Pratap was posted in Madurai. So they were weekend husbands and wife. Husband, wife meeting only on the weekend, and his work would take him on tours. But she was in Chennai, either she would go down to Madurai or he will come down to Chennai and this is how they were meeting, and that's not a very nice thing to do. So luckily for him, in the meantime, I had gone to Muscat and I settled down there for a couple of 2-3 years. We had a company called Ibn Rashid Pharmacy. And the owner of the company told me that, why don't you look at this company and it's not doing too well. And what needs to be done? Would you give me a report? So I studied that with Pratap in mind, of course, and gave a report saying that you need a good manager, you don't have one. A technical person, you don't have. And Pratap, in the meantime, had been working for Lipton, a tea company, nothing to do with what he had really studied. And here was an opportunity for him to go back to pharmacy. And then it was decided that Pratap will apply for it. He applied for. And that interview was very, very special one. The owner of the company's name was Suhail and Saud Bhawan. The owner of the company and Harold Walder was the administration head. And there was one senior manager called Antia. These three had gone down for interviewing Pratap. I had already told Walder, good friend of mine, that my brother is coming for interview, take care. He said, no problem, we will see. I was wondering what these three people are going to ask technically about pharmaceutical stuff to Pratap, because none of them know anything about pharmaceuticals. So anyway, that Pratap later on told me, in his own words, the interview was the shortest I ever had been to. He said, the owner, after I went in and introduced myself, the owner said, sit down. And he looked at Pratap and said, तुम्हारा माँ बाप को मेरा सलाम दे दो. That's all the interview. तो बरसात का बा ये है, because there is no P in Arabic, there's only B. So he calls me Barsat. So बरसात का बा ये है. Yes, sir. माँ बाप को सलाम दे दो. End of the interview. And he was very well qualified for that. And I think that was it's a wonderful job he got, because it was in his study, in his capacity, and within the ambit of what he should be doing, not selling tea. Then his years in Muscat was wonderful. And before this, I must say, I don't know if Chandru is still here. See, Chandru and company in Pilani was great help for him. That was a very impressionable age. You are living alone, and the company of friends that you choose is very important for the rest of your life. And I think there they helped him a lot. They helped each other, because not only him, they all helped each other in Pilani. And then when we came down to Muscat, along with Kalpana, he was able to get also an introduction to Kalpana to a bank. And then they did very well. Then few years we were in Muscat. Unfortunately, my father suddenly passed away when he had gone to my other brother Prakash to stay with him for some time. It all happened very fast. 85, my mother got the Padma Bhushan Award. In 86, my father passed away. Then 87, we were trying to get in touch with Amma. Every time we called mother, Amma, she was not well. I knew it was nothing to do physical. It was only that all the three sons are gone away. One is in US, the other two are in the Middle East, and the whole house, and there's nobody there except she and the servants. So then I decided it's time to go, and packed up. And my wife Susie, without batting an eyelid, understood the situation and said, let's go. It was not an easy decision. She took it. I'm grateful to her for that. We came back here and spent some our life here. And Pratap continued in Muscat for some more time. Then he moved to Dubai. And during his time in Dubai, his family grew. You have already heard how Pradyut met, maybe Pradyut's father, the Pratap, and Romi's father had already they were friends and classmates and things like that. And I think so Kalpana's classmate was Romi's mother. And with Romi and Pradyut. They had 3 wonderful children. They had, out of 3, I think Ishan is not here. He has gone away to play tennis in Canada. Ishan, Yash, and Alea. All the 3 of them. And then Presi and Parth. Parth is a wonderful, wonderful boy who came into our lives. And Parth and Presi had brought forth Arab and Aman. So the 5 children, Pratap had a whale of a time with those 5 children. He must be blessed, because to have all the 5 children in one place for those many years he had been with is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and very, very fortunate. Now, people objectively talk about Pratap, how he was. As a brother, I stopped looking at him objectively. You can't look at a sibling objectively. We have all fought. Prakash, myself, all of us have fought a lot. But then we don't analyze each other. We take each of us as a whole, as a package deal. And that's what Pratap is. You accept it. That's what Prakash is. You accept it, and that's what I was, and they accepted it. My brother Prakash's daughter was the firstborn in our family, Pavitra. She was the eldest in the family, the next generation. The next is my son Bikram, followed by Adit, and then Pradyut. Bikram and Pavitra were only 15 days apart. Adit and Pradyut were also very few months, only a few months apart. And the princess arrived, the princess of the family, Prasiddha. So between the queen, Pavitra, and Prasiddha, we had the whole family of 5. And it was a wonderful period. We all used to meet every year in India and make sure that we go to some place where we all spend some time together. Finally, holding hands, I told you. I enjoyed holding his hands, but not the last few days. We were holding his hands till he knew and he would recognize. And he reached a stage when I was holding his hands, but he didn't know. It was a very, very sad moment for all of us. I don't want to say any more. If I try anything else, my throat will dry up, my lips will parch up, and my eyes will wet up. So we don't want that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening to people share their recollections of my dad. We've heard a lot of interesting stories today, but before I sign off, I do want to say a few thank yous, especially starting with Dr. Roy and the entire MGM team. You know, it's really tough when a family member, a parent goes through a difficult medical situation, but Dr. Roy, you were amazing. Your team was amazing, and we're really appreciative of that. All his friends, Don Bosco, Pilani, all of them who've come, all of you guys who've come from far, Jimmy Uncle, Geeta Auntie, all the Ajit Uncle, all of you have been such a part of his life. He really appreciated having all these people around him, keeping him busy, keeping him active. I think I would like to thank my 2 cousins, especially Vikram and Adit, for all that they did for him in his last years. They were extremely helpful. But my uncle Suman, he was here earlier. he was extremely helpful as we were going through kind of some of the medical analysis towards the end, and a great partner to my dad and to my mom and uncle. My uncle Sridhar for jumping on the plane when my mom needed him to help out. Unfortunately, he landed right at the time Dad passed, but Dad's timing that way sometimes is immaculate. But last but not least, I just want to say to my two uncles, Prakash and Bambu, Prasad, the strength that you guys shared. So just to finish off some thank yous and then say a few words about my dad, the strength that you guys shared, the amount of dedication both of you had to him was truly touching and incredible. And I'm really, really thankful for that. So thank you, Bambu. Thank you, Prakash Paipa, for whenever you see this. The hard, just to wrap up on my dad, the toughest part of losing someone so integral to your life is it's a mistake that we all make, and we don't tell them while they're alive or whether they're fully functioning how we truly feel. In this particular case, I knew we were given a second chance with him after his transplant, and I do have some remorse about not telling him enough the things that made me grateful for his presence and the relationship we had. This is going to be a little long because I can't distill it into a Twitter or Insta-style post, but just wanted to share some reflections on life with Dad. I have no doubt he felt loved. The hero worship I'd bestowed upon him as a child was eventually transferred from his grandchildren, especially his two oldest, Yash and Ishan. He knew how strongly Pressy and I felt as our relationships matured, as we grew into adults and parents in our own right. Dad and I took time to find an equilibrium on our roles in each other's lives as they evolved, but in a way that, is normal and healthy. It wasn't always your traditional father-son relationship. He was my dad, but he was also a friend. And that, for me, that was great in how that relationship was able to move with time. He was many things, and not all would be seen as complimentary. I think I would be safe to say he was never in the running for father or husband of the year. He was a terror to many, and I think some have already said that, who didn't live up to his standards, however they crossed his path in life. I can't begin to count the number of times he got on my nerves for fighting with someone on the phone so loudly that I couldn't hear myself speak in the next room. Or the number of times my mom and sister, when going somewhere with him, would have flushed in utter embarrassment as he started complaining about the table, the food, the service, the number of glasses that the waitstaff had laid out. You can take your pick. But growing is also about acknowledging your own follies. I would give anything to hear one more loud, booming argument that he would have on the phone with someone. Passing by his work desk when I got home 10 days or so ago was just extremely tough. I'm sure Pressy would give anything to hear one more inane argument about that he would have about N-1 glasses with the waitstaff. Maturing is also being able to admire your heroes in life and accepting them regardless of their flaws. Dad always had an uncanny ability to do the right thing. I think you've heard that from several people today. There are too many instances to recount, but he was always the number one person we turned to in a difficult or uncomfortable situation. Despite an often gruff exterior, I've been touched by how warmly people have regarded him and how many people reached out to us with stories about how he helped or impacted them. I was extremely moved by the regard that the people who worked in our house displayed when they heard the news, as I know he wasn't easy for them to deal with, but their emotion, their feeling towards him was really, really touching. In his own way, he consistently want to do better. The biggest lessons he imparted to me were the ability to recognize his shortcomings, but still try to be and do better, either as a parent or grandparent or just as an ordinary person. His constant battle for improvement in standards in your own nexus of time and space was a tough ask, but also a really worthy endeavor. He always took it on with aplomb or gusto, and the reality is he was probably right to. The tremendous love and loyalty he showed to his family, both to us, but also especially to his brothers. The three of them had an uncanny ability to have a raging argument and then just brush it aside as though it was completely irrelevant, as they went back to being best friends. Can't say that Pressy and I have always managed to get there, but we are trying. Watching Dad's surrogate parent, Ishan and Yash, it was a completely different experience as he moved into his 60s and 70s. I can tell you than when he was in his 40s with Pressy and me. Didn't recognize that style of parenting. But it was a wonderful lesson in the expansion and growth that we're all capable of. Today, I'm really able to cherish the little imprints of TNP in all his grandkids. In their own unique way, they all carry a little bit of his torch through the characteristics that they've imparted from him. In the end, I realize we tend to sweat the small things with those closest to us and miss the bigger picture. We all have our flaws, but it's the memories we make with people over the lifetime of interactions which are worth holding on the most. In the last weeks, I've retraced a journey which, from the beaches of Oman to arguments about cricket in our backyard, to cherished memory at different family weddings or events, Poconos, which my uncle Ashok was talking about, really being comes to mind, to World Cup finals and other travels and moments of utter devotions to his grandkids and vice versa. I'll always miss this monumental impact on my life, and it'll hit me several times over the coming years. I think, maybe hope that different things that remind me of my father stop bringing tears to my eyes but keep bringing smiles. Watching the cricket or tennis with the boys, seeing that stupid bottle of Kuros YSL perfume at airports around the world. He loved that perfume for some reason. Every time I see a Hugo Boss store anywhere, every time one of the 5 grandkids manifest TNP in some way, and I believe they do a lot. Just ask my mom or my wife on any given morning when they come to see them. Yes, my dad was flawed, but it was in his own wonderful way. And that's equally part of what made that journey that I appreciated so much and learned so much from. He taught me and my sister so many things, and that's why in so many ways he was still one of my heroes. The lasting lesson he taught me was people manifest their journeys and paths in life in many different ways. And true love is being able to appreciate those closest to you, even when their path is extremely different to yours. We disagreed on so many things that most people deem fundamental: lifestyle, religion, politics. But I would at least like to think that it mattered not an ounce in the love or respect we had for each other. And I thank you, Dad, for the most cherished of feelings. You're always my dad first and last to the very end. This is farewell, but not goodbye. Because I hope you will always live in my conscience and my heart. Thank you.
Just a couple of people in my life, Pratap's. Hello? Yeah, a couple of people in my life and Pratap's left out, should mention, is Prakash's wife, Meera. I hadn't mentioned it. Meera, again, part of the family. She had a lot of arguments with Pratap, but finally, all's well that ends well. The other one is Pooja, my daughter-in-law. And she had a few years only exposure after Adit got married. She had some very nice moments with Pratap, and that's not going to be forgotten in a hurry. Before Prakash was here, a few days before Pratap passing away, he came all the way from US only to be with him and see what he can do for him. There are very few brothers who can do that. He went away hoping that things will settle down and he will come back that is in the month of July, but it never happened. He kept telling him, listen, we came into this world as Prasad, Prakash and Pratap, P1, P2, P3, and we want to go back in that order. So I assured him, I'm in no great hurry. But then what to do? Fate has something else in store for us, isn't it? So Pratap will always be with us, wherever he is. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you have cherished along with us in our father's memory. Sorry. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Like we said, my dad would have been tickled pink to see so many people to come and celebrate him. So thank you. Thank you for all the support you've given our family over the past few years and the past few months, especially to my mother. And we really hope that we see each other again in happier times. Thank you. Lunch is served. Thank you for being here.
Come, Divya. Wonderful. So Rita told me, I said, I'll come back. Figured out how I have a mask. Everybody says hi. Pharmacy, Hi, how are you? It's a long way. Surrounded by Hello. Hi, Bana. How are you? Watching it. எல்லா குழந்தைகளும் எங்களோட all of us viewers Yes, but I'm not there. That's why I shared it. She just said she picked up Then I submit with
Miss Alea, do you remember me?
Do you remember this?
No, you hung out with me almost, don't call me that. Exclusively at the Kritika's wedding. You remember me from there? You were only with me and my sister. Your grandmother had to call you that.
You wanted to stay with them.
Yeah, you wanted to come home. But it became so much bigger now.
Hey, him. எப்போ ஒன்றும் தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது காலேஜ் ஃபுட்பால் மாதிரி